Hi everyone, this is Anto Chávez with Be Latina. Today we're going to talk to Annette Taddeo, who's a Florida senator. So this will be very interesting. We'll get all the answers that we need as usual. Or we'll try to with public servants who need to talk to the populations that need the most from them, such as the Latinx, the Hispanic, and the Latina community. So this is why we're here, and let's get started. So Senator Taddeo just joined. She should be on very soon.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
I'm well, and you?
I'm doing well. Where are you in the world right now?
I am great. I'm sorry. I was on another interview trying to finish it so I could get on here.
No worries. That's how it goes when you're in a campaign, I bet.
Yes, although I'm not on the ballot, but it seems like I'm working just as hard.
Yeah, it's always good because you're working for the people no matter what. So we appreciate that. Yeah. So let's jump right in. If you want to tell everyone who you are and what you do on a daily basis, that would be great.
Well, I am State Senator Annette Taddeo, the first Latina Democrat in the Florida Senate, and very, very proud Latina, Colombiana. And what do I do on a daily basis besides being a senator, which, by the way, is supposed to be a part-time job, but it is the biggest lie. It is, well, maybe some people do it as a part-time job. I don't know how to do it as a part-time job, but I do have a full-time job as well. I own a business, a translation business, and I sometimes wonder how I do it all. I'm also a mom and wife, but somehow I do it, and I just try to give it my all and my best at whatever job I'm at that moment, because you can't do it all at once, but you can give it your all in that particular job.
Of course, yeah. And so at the beginning of your career, Senator Taddeo, what was the moment that led you to run for office? So what was your inspiration? What was your motivation to get you where you are right now?
Well, I like to say that the pivotal moment where I decided I was going to run for office someday was actually not because of an election coming up or anything like that. It was actually an experience I had in college where I ran for student government secretary. Now, I was going to school in Alabama, so everybody that's watching can be aware. I was going to school in Alabama and was very involved, but I was one of the few Latinas. I know that in Alabama, we now have a lot more Latinos and all over the country, but I was always very involved. And of course, I'm like, oh, I want to run for student government secretary. I put posters all over the school and, was very excited about it. And then all of a sudden, on the day of the election, I am walking to go vote at the student center. Mm-hmm. And my posters, which had my picture and it said Annette Taddeo for secretary, they were vandalized, and they no longer said Annette Taddeo for secretary. It said Annette Taddeo, and then they crossed out secretary and put for deportation.
Wow.
And the reason why I say this is the pivotal moment is because, again, at a young age, probably 21, 22, I decided that, I can either be bitter and angry and upset, or I can, try to grow from this experience. And I just decided at that moment that I wasn't going to let this experience get me down, but instead bring me up to whatever I wanted to do to help others so they never have to experience this. And today, what we're living through in such a time of of division, nastiness, racism, sexism, hatred. It really sort of is amazing that we're still going through this, but it just reinforces for me why it's so important to have diverse voices at the table. I was born an American citizen, although I was born overseas. I like to say is the only thing I have in common with Ted Cruz. But I will tell you, I never realized that people saw me different, that people thought I was less than until that moment. And I think it was a hard lesson, but it was a good lesson for me because it really made me want to go even further in life to make sure that we all have a seat at the table and that we have diversity and inclusion. And what a time to be involved in politics right now when we are trying to all stand up for equality for all and justice for all.
Yeah, yeah, that's really inspirational. And I think one of the most important things that I hear you say is that we're all in this together. And I'm sure you agree that we need to uplift the voices of people who may be going through those things that happen to you at a younger age. So I think I would ask you now, how do you make sure that you are constantly, uplifting the voices of those marginalized communities as opposed to being the voice?
Again, I'm actually doing it right now. I'll give you an example.
Mm-hmm.
uh, I'm a very proud Democrat, but I will stand up and speak truth to power when I see something wrong. And one of the things that I noticed a lot is that they were, my own party was saying, I was like, why don't we run more Latinas in a lot of these open seats? I mean, usually the open seats are the easier races, the ones that you have more of a clean slate because you don't have an incumbent who has name recognition. And so it's an opportunity where, usually those that are well connected, just jump right in, right? And that's where they go. And frankly, a lot of men, and the studies have shown this, so please don't kill the messenger, but the studies have shown this, that a lot of men wake up, look in the mirror, and they're like, I'm going to be a U.S. Senator. They're qualified, and they're like, haven't even done anything. Their careers, let alone. But women, very different. We really want to make sure that we're truly qualified, that we have done everything right. Anyway, so as I heard that they just couldn't find any Latinas, I got frustrated. This happened last fall, pre-COVID, and and I got just frustrated. I said, what? I'm just gonna put up a post and just invite Latinas to come over and just come over to my house, have brunch. If you've ever thought about running for office, I want to meet you. And my house was full of women, full of Latinas. All these people showed up, and I was so excited. And now here we are, many months later, and a bunch of those Latinas that were at my house or that spoke to me because I reached out are running and about to win.
That's amazing.
They're young and they're smart and they're like amazing. And so your question was, what am I doing? I think that's, when you're able to crack the door, like I did by flipping a seat from red to blue in a very contested special election, where honestly, I ran up against the guy that they were already, putting him in place to be the next Marco Rubio. I think it's our responsibility to bring others along and try to encourage others. And frankly, I think it's my job to find my replacement for my seat. And so things like that. So I think that's my answer as to what am I doing. I'm doing a lot, but I have so much fun helping other people. And like I said, even though I'm not on the ballot, my husband and my daughter were like, you're working just as hard as if you were. And I was like, but we all are. We all have to work really hard to make sure we have good people in government.
Yeah, there are so many other campaigns that you may be not a part of but involved in, and I think that's so great. That's a special power that you have because you broke that door, because it's not like they opened it for you, but you broke that door and you enter and now you're open it for other Latinas. So I think that's so beautiful. And in terms of, you've been in office in 2017, correct?
Yes, and I got reelected in 2018.
Right. So in terms of legislation, are there any accomplishments or things that you have advocated for Latinas and the Latinx community that you would love to talk about right now?
There's lots of things, but I think, the most important thing is just being a voice, right? Sometimes we don't, we don't win the battle, but I believe that we will eventually win the war. And it is a war in many cases against women.
I think it.
Okay.
Okay, you're back. You're back. Okay.
My screen, that's what I get for trying to get something out of the screen. Wait.
No problem.
Were you at least able to hear me? Okay.
A little bit, yes. So you were talking about being a voice because a lot of the times it's an attack on Latinas.
Yes, on Latinas, minority communities, and women. So I think that some of the things that I would mention is some of the legislation and the conversations that we need to have. For example, there's a legislation that I have been pushing since I got there, that they sort of don't even want to deal with it, but it is really essential, and from personal experience, I know how essential it is, and that is for people who speak another language and come to school here. The overemphasis that we have on testing, which we do, it hurts those kids who are in the process of learning the language. And there is no, really nothing there for them to be able to be equalized so that they're not doing worse on the test, which then affects their entire, at a certain point, all these tests affect the college entry, affect everything that you're doing, scholarships. So my thing is I want to be able to change that, and the fact that we should give that opportunity to speakers of other languages to take, for example, math in their language, science in their language. If you want to test the English proficiency, of course, you got to do that. And by the way, who doesn't want to learn English if you're living here? Of course we do. And kids do learn English quite well, but they should not be, penalized because their native language is another one. And I will tell you, I'm a perfect example. I actually did, when I came here from Colombia to Alabama, I couldn't get into college. Nobody would take me because my test scores were bad. And I know personally how difficult that was, and that's why that's one of the things that I'm not going to give up until we change it. Other states have done it, and we have not been successful in Florida. As far as other things, obviously, I want to expand Medicaid. We have about 800,000 Floridians that do not have health insurance because they fall into that gap that they're not enough, but they don't make enough. So that's something else that we are working on. But my idea is to actually, the politicians don't have the courage to expand Medicaid because it became political. And I say, okay, let the voters decide. Put it to the voters. Ask them the question, should we expand Medicaid? Now, they don't want to because they know that we, the voters, want to expand Medicaid. We think people should have health insurance. We don't think they should go without. And by the way, all of us end up paying when they don't. So that's just an example of a couple of things. But I will tell you, one of the things that I'm most proud of is being able to stop bad legislation. I've sort of gotten a little bit of a fama for being able to kill. Famita. Because I just, if you need something like killed in committee or a bad amendment taken out, things like that. So I've just gotten really good at that, and I really enjoy it because people always pay attention to, oh, what bills did you pass? But they should really pay attention to all the bad stuff you are capable of stopping. That is sometimes even more important than people realize than actually passing bills, especially when you're in the minority. It's harder to pass bills. But I think that the minority should spend a lot more time trying to kill the bad bills or make them not as bad if they have the votes to pass them.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really great point. As well as the one about people who speak other languages in school. I think that's I mean, I experienced that when I came here at 17. So I firsthand know what you're talking about. When I got here, I knew way more math than they were putting in front of me, but because I didn't know the language, they would, lower my classes levels, and they would disregard me and just assume that I would not even be able to speak English by the time I would graduate or get to college. So there are even, those systematic changes are going to make a huge impact on people who speak other languages and get here, and they have the potential, but they just need that equalizer, like you said.
Yes.
Yeah. So,
And
Senator Taddeo.
listen to you today. I mean, it's a perfect example of how crazy that is. Now, of course, they would say, "Oh, but look, she's a perfect example. Look at her. We made sure she learned English." Guess what? I'm like, please. Of course, we want to learn English, and we want to learn it as best as possible. And believe me, I worked really hard on making sure that my accent wasn't noticeable. Although I know that to people outside of Miami, it is. But anyway.
Yeah, but that's another thing, accents are not bad. They make us think they're bad, but we speak the language perfectly fine. And I always say I did not learn English because of the systems in place. That's not why, I learned English because I did the work myself. And that's why, some people, I was privileged enough to have migrated with my parents. So I had my mom helping me with maybe cooking, and I had my dad helping me with taking me to school, things like that, that some other immigrants don't have. So how can they focus on learning the language if the systems are not helping them?
Absolutely. But that's why, we got to keep fighting.
Yeah, I agree. And I appreciate your work. I also would love to have you talk about the importance of the local and state elections. I know many people love and understand, because it's true, the importance of the presidential election, but what about the local and state ones?
Oh my God, it's so important, and I know that you're seeing clearly who I'm behind, but um, I would like for people to understand that actually their local elections affects them more, their everyday lives. So everybody pays a lot of attention, and I'm not suggesting that the presidency is not important, but really, really, what affects your water quality, whether we have more renewable energy jobs and investment, or whether we invest in mental health and in education rather than a path to prison, having a path to a brighter future. All these things happen either at the local or at the state level. So when your school board position, pay attention to those. We actually, in my community, we have 3 Latinas running for the 3 open seats. I love it. And your state representatives, it really, again, I know a lot of people don't pay attention to the budget in Florida, but we are such a huge state. We're bigger than some countries, and our budget is a lot bigger than a lot of countries, and we need to pay attention, because we're spending a tremendous amount of money, for example, keeping people in jail for things that are ridiculous, or sometimes is because people had let's say a drug addiction, so they did something to keep their drug addiction. They did something bad or stole something, but we're not dealing with the core of the problem, which may be the drug addiction, and instead we're putting them in jail for a long time, which, by the way, just to give everybody an example as to why these races are so important, we spend over $20,000 per prisoner in Florida per year to keep them in prison. but yet we only spend $7,000 per student to educate them. That right there tells you what's wrong with our priorities. They're all screwed up, and we cannot continue to do this and pretend like everything's going to be all right. And by the way, this pandemic has shown so many people how important it is for them to pay attention to politics, because now all of a sudden a lot of people that were just like, oh, whatever, and they didn't pay that much attention, people that have worked all their lives found themselves without a job, found
Yeah.
themselves going to unemployment, and the site didn't even work, and then find out that Florida has one of the worst unemployment systems in the nation, the most punitive. It only pays $275 a week.
Mhm.
This is an insurance program that is not a gift. It's an insurance. You're supposed to be able to have it when you need it. And you don't, because Florida punishes you for becoming unemployed. And they don't even pay you but for 12 weeks if they agree to pay you. We have 2 million people that have applied that have yet to see a penny.
Hmm.
And it's just crazy what we're going through. But those are laws that are passed by the legislature and
Hmm.
signed by the governor. So guess what? You better pay attention to the state house. You better pay attention to the state senate. You better pay attention to everything, because you're paying the taxes and they're deciding to do things that are not good for everyone. And that hurts even small businesses. I'm a small business owner, and people are like, oh, yeah, the politicians love to say how they really care about small business. Yeah, right. Like, many of them have never had to meet a payroll every 2 weeks. Many of them never had to figure out, oh my God, in the middle of COVID, how do I protect my employees? They don't. They just have no clue how hard it is to keep a business going, to keep it afloat, and to worry about all the things that you have to worry about as a business owner. And believe me, an economy that functions is good for everybody, including, more importantly, for small businesses. So this whole COVID situation, not paying attention to it and pretending like it's just going to go away, yeah, good luck. And that's why we're paying for it now.
Yeah. And Senator Tadeo, along the same lines, why is the Latinx and the Latino and Latina vote so important? How is it that we have this power, and how do we use it?
You know, well, first of all, in the United States, we are growing tremendously, and in Florida specifically. Florida, Joe Biden said it yesterday. He said, if we win Florida, it's over. And he's right.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason is because Florida will actually not just decide who wins the White House, and mainly because the Republicans cannot win the White House without winning Florida, but also because Florida, because of the experience we had in 2000, and for those of you that are too young, you should know that, you know, that whole debacle, and where you had so many people who are like, why does it matter? Why does my vote matter? Or people who are like, you know what? I don't like either the Democrat or the Republican, so I'm going to vote for the Green Party guy. Well, the entire presidency was decided by approximately, well, after the recount it was less, but approximately 571 votes, I think it was. So that's like nothing. And for anybody to say to me that their vote doesn't matter, tell that to the people who ended up, going to war, because of war that was started by the president, that was decided by the Supreme Court. You know, many people lost family members in that war. I mean, decisions are made that affect all of us. We also, did not invest in climate change, and now we're paying the price. We are paying the price for all these things where you thought your vote didn't matter. It doesn't matter. I don't like him. I don't like to pick between the less of two evils kind of thing. I've heard it all. I understand. I believe me, I'm the first one to say that many times, sometimes, my own Democrats, I will criticize. But you are so much better off. Look at what we actually have been through in 4 years of people saying, I just don't like that lady, or, so I'm just going to vote third party, or my vote doesn't matter. And look at where we are today. So don't do that because and what I say to people is, please don't be selfish, because it's not just about you. It's about the person who needs that Medicaid expansion. It's about the person who has pre-existing conditions. And right now we have one president who is in at the Supreme Court with his administration trying to take away Obamacare, which covers people with pre-existing conditions. It covers young people on their parents' insurance for much, much longer than it ever did before. Things that have made a positive impact in people's lives. Think about those people, even if you're not one of them. Think about the person who's trying to, make ends meet. Think about, the all the, again, don't be selfish and look at the bigger picture. And if you want to really, really, really have somebody that you think will be, kick ass, a really good person serving in office, well, then run yourself. Because believe me, we need more young people. We need more people that are really going to be a part of it. And I love that so many people are getting engaged and they're like ready and running. So
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great answer. There you go, everyone. There are millions and millions of people who are counting on you and thousands of issues that need your attention. So thank you so much, Senator Tadeo, for being here with us.
one more thing, if you don't do it
Mhm.
for me, do it for Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Believe
Yes,
me,
please.
talk about a trailblazer, a woman that really, really opened the doors and the eyes and the laws of this nation to the opportunity for women, fought so hard, and we're about to go backwards. So please do it for Ruth. Don't do it for anyone else, but do it for her, in her memory, for everything she fought for. And if you haven't read about her or seen the movie or whatever it takes for you to get excited to do it for Ruth, do it for her, because I am telling you, I know she's from above going, oh my gosh, do the right thing. And we need all those young people to do that.
Yes, please do. There you go. Those are all more than enough reasons for you to not only vote but also volunteer. They are not mutually exclusive. So please, please, please look up any opportunities that you may have to volunteer as well, because you can do it from the couch in your house, to be honest, and make some calls. So thank you so much, Senator Tadeo, for being here with us today and joining us. It was a pleasure to have you, and I can't wait to see what's going to happen in the next few months.
I know. I'm here and I'm delighted and always willing and able. Love to get together with you guys. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
Vote, vote, vote.
Yes. Have a great day.
Thank you.